In this video, we will explore PTE Core Speaking Part 1 to Part 3. So in today's video, we are going to break down from Part 1 to Part 3 of the PTE Core Speaking section in a very simple, practical and exam-focused way. So if you're preparing for PTE Core and aiming for a high score, let me tell you something very important right at the beginning. These first three tasks are absolutely crucial. They don't just test your speaking, they also affect your listening and reading scores. So if you perform well here, you are already setting a strong foundation for your overall result. Okay? Now, what are these three tasks about? Let's first understand the purpose of these tasks. The first three parts in PDE course speaking are read aloud, repeat sentence, and describe image. Now, at first glance, they may look simple. You might think, okay, I just need to read and describe. But actually, each of these tasks is carefully designed to test different communication skills. Yes, when it comes to read aloud, it checks how clearly and fluently you can read English. When it comes to repeat sentence, that checks your listening accuracy and memory. And describe an image checks your ability to organize ideas and speak continuously. So overall, these three tasks are testing your pronunciation, fluency, listening skills, understanding of structure, and ability to speak without hesitation. And remember, this is not about sounding like a native speaker. Not at all. It's about being clear, natural, and confident. Now, let's talk about how these actually appear during the exam. When it comes to read aloud, you will see a short passage on the screen. You will get about 30 to 40 seconds to prepare, and then the microphone opens. You must read the text aloud loud. You must read the text aloud clearly. Okay? So, repeat sentences. You will hear sentence only once, and after that, microphone opens and you must repeat it exactly. You don't get a second chance. So focus is everything here when it comes to the repeat sentence. And for describe an image, you will see an image. Maybe it could be a graph, chart, map, or any picture, process diagram also. So you get 25 seconds to prepare and then you speak for about 40 seconds. Got it? So overall, these tasks move very fast in the exam. You don't have time to overthink. That's why strategy is very important when it comes to PDE core. Okay. And there are some important concepts behind these tasks before jumping into the strategy. One thing that you have to understand is fluency. This means speaking smoothly without too many pauses, even if your grammar is not too perfect. If you speak continuously, then you will score well. The same way, pronunciation and content accuracy. So, for pronunciation, when I'm saying you don't need a perfect accent, but your words should be clear and understandable. And of course, when it comes to the content, it's very important, especially for repeat sentence and describe image. Here, you need to capture the main idea correctly, even if you miss small details. Okay, so remember this simple formula: fluency plus clarity plus key content equals to high score. Now, let's talk about the strategy for read aloud. Here, let me slow down and you have to really understand this task because many students underestimated in read aloud. You're not just reading, you're actually being tested on how naturally and clearly you can speak English. So think of it like you're explaining something to someone sitting in front of you. Now, one of the biggest mistakes candidates make is rushing. They see the timer, they get panic and start reading too fast. When that happens, pronunciation becomes unclear, right? And words get skipped and fluency will drop. Instead of rushing, your goal should be controlled fluency. What does that mean? It means speaking at a comfortable, steady pace, letting your voice flow naturally, not stopping unnecessarily. Got it? Now, punctuation is your best friend here. It actually tells you how to sound natural. When you see a comma, just take a very light pause, not a full stop, just a small break. When you see a full stop, pause properly and then continue. Also, don't read every word with the same stress. English has rhythm, okay? And content words like technology, communicate, efficient, these are some of the words. I'm just giving you an example. So these words should be clearer and slightly stronger. Okay. So during your preparation, don't try to read the whole paragraph again and again. Instead, quickly scan for difficult words, long words, words you are not confident about. So you have to mentally prepare those words before speaking. This will reduce your hesitation. Now, here is the text. After seeing this, you just need to read it aloud. Okay? Technology has significantly changed the way people communicate in modern society, making interaction faster, more convenient, and highly efficient. Did you get it? So there is a natural pause after society, right? Words like significantly, communicate efficiently. I have pronounced it very clearly, isn't it? So the sentence flows smoothly without stopping. The key here is clarity plus rhythm plus control. See, you're not going to think and speak, it's there. You just need to check for your fluency, rhythm, clarity, and control. Okay, so now let's move on to the second one, repeat sentence. This is one of the most challenging tasks. Yes, because this is where many students they feel stressed because they think they need to remember every single word perfectly. But that's not true. Let me be very clear. This is not a memory test alone. It's a listening plus speaking strategy test. So instead, you focus on every word, you have to focus on meaning and structure. When you hear the sentence, don't get panic. You just listen carefully and then try to understand the idea. At the same time, your brain should naturally break the sentence into smaller chunks. For example, most sentences can be divided into the beginning, middle, and end, right? Another important thing is timing. The moment audio finishes, you should start speaking immediately. Many students, what they do, they just wait, they try to remember everything, and that silence reduces their score. Even if you remember only part of the sentence, say it confidently. A partial but fluent answer is always better than silence. Okay? So now here is an example. So this is how you get it in the audio. Effective communication plays a crucial role in building strong professional relationships in any workplace. So, how do you remember this? Now, your ideal response should be in the same way, right? If you could not remember everything, a partial strong response can be like effective communication plays an important role in building professional relationships in the workplace. I'll tell you why is this still good because the main idea is preserved here. The sentence structure is also correct and the fluency is maintained. Remember, accuracy is important, but fluency saves your score. Now, let's move on to the next task, which is describe an image. This is where many students either score very high or sometimes they lose marks completely. Because the biggest mistake here is they try to describe everything in the image. Let me tell you something clearly. You are not expected to describe every detail, okay? Instead, you're expected to organize your information. Speak continuously. You have to present a clear overview. So, structure becomes your biggest strength here. A very simple and powerful structure is start with the introduction, then give the overview, continue with the key details, and then end with a conclusion. Now, when you start speaking, don't hesitate, even if you're not sure. Just begin with a general sentence. And please avoid long pauses. Yes, even if you don't know what to say, continue with general observations. And yes, templates are useful, but only if they sound natural. If you sound too robotic, then your score drops. Okay. Now, let me show a bar chart here which is showing company sales over 5 years. Now, after observing this, you have to give your response. Just try to incorporate whatever we have discussed so far and come up with your response. Let me give my response here. The given image illustrates a bar chart representing the sales performance of a company over 5 year period. At a glance, it can be clearly observed that there is a consistent and gradual increase in sales throughout the years, indicating an overall positive growth trend. Looking at the details, the sales figure begin at the lowest point in year one at approximately 15 million. In year two, there is a noticeable rise to around 22 million, followed by a steady increase to nearly 28 million in year three. This upward movement continues in year four, where sales reach about 35 million. The most significant growth can be seen in the final year, 5, where the sales peak at approximately 45 million, marking the highest value across the entire period. So, this shows a strong and continuous improvement in performance over time. In conclusion, the chart clearly demonstrates that the company has experienced steady and consistent growth in sales over the 5 years, reflecting a successful upward trend and improved performance in business. So remember, if you master these three tasks, you're already halfway to a high score. In the next video, we will cover the remaining speaking tasks with advanced techniques. Until then, keep practicing, stay consistent, and remember, fluency is more important than perfection. That's all for today's video. Kindly like, share, and subscribe for more PTE Core tips. Bye-bye.